We are live.
Welcome, dreamers and drifters. I'm Blair. I'm going to be your guide through the Veil, voice of the world, and founder of Sanguine Horizon. Around here, I spin fate like the glass spinners in Roshni, smooth when I want to be, sharp when I have to be. You'll meet gods who never asked to be believed in, machines that dream of silence, and rebels who don't know they're chosen yet. This is Elthea. Reborn, reckless, and ready to break your heart in all the best ways. So grab your flare crystals, mind your footing, and remember, not all sparks fade. Some burn. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of Gears of Ilthea. We are going to be using the Exalted Essence system. Exalted is a system I've been very fond of since high school, and Exalted First Edition came out. It's a very high-flying, anime-esque kind of system that really lends itself to narrative and big moves and huge action sequences. And narrative roleplay and narrative combat are highly rewarded via stunt dice, which you don't just get during combat either. You do something really cool in RP, and you have a roll to make, you'll get bonuses for that too. As I said, I'm Blair. I'm also known as Sans. But why doesn't everyone go ahead and introduce themselves? Let's start with Brian. You're at the top of the Discord list. Colton, where's my camera?
Sorry, for some reason, every time you disconnect from it, I have to reset it. Sorry.
Disconnect from it.
Yeah, it disconnected you.
I don't hear anything Brian's saying.
Nope, not a word you've said, Brian.
Yeah, I know. That bad habit. But anyway, I'm Brian. I'm playing Rylan. And yeah, this is going to be my first time with the group. So should be fun. Should be interesting.
Yay and welcome. Next up is Hudikin.
Hey everyone, I'm Hootie. I'm playing Pride Lord Cadus, big old cat that actually is civilized and sentient. I'm really looking forward to playing that. I think it's going to be fun, and looking forward to playing with everybody at the table. Cheers.
Cheers. And welcome to Demon. You're up next.
Hello, I am Demon. I am playing Meridius Knoll. He is a... he hails from Providence, the Shipwreck Coast, or Stormbreak Coast. He does cleanup on the kaijus, and may or may not have been infected by one. We'll find out. But been doing tabletop RPGs for a very short time now, and am excited to experience Exalted for the first time.
Yeah, hey, welcome. Also, I just wanted to know who you guys were. We'll get to your characters. Zeraj, you're next.
Hey, I'm Zarich, and I've been playing TTRPGs for a little over 2 years now. Starting with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but moving on to a variety of other systems. And I'll be playing Fahim.
Welcome. Colton, do you have the Foundry tab muted because I don't hear any music on the stream itself.
No, I don't, but I'll work on that.
Let me see. Is there anything else we need to talk about? No, maybe. So Exalted Essence belongs to Onyx Pass Publishing. You may note the Dark Pact symbol that we've got placed here. I think that's it, really. So let's start with it's year 15, AE, which stands for After Emberwake. The month is Solacer, and it's the 4th day, Wode's Day. The skies above Elthia still shimmer with the twin suns, Velen the blue, and Tora the red. The world turns raw and radiant, stitched back together by the hands of dreamers and survivors. 15 years have passed since the fall of the Divine Empress. 15 years since the Emberwake. And though her empire is gone, her shadow is not. Beneath the floating isles of Binan Suil, in deep crystalline cradles, humming with mana and machine logic, the first of the genetically entangled armor systems, or gears for short, have been completed. They are alive in all ways but one. They have no pilots. Compatibility is a gift. In Providence, a harvester toils among the corpses of the sky. Vesium-rich Draciri, brought down by rail fire and skyships, dismantled piece by piece. Dangerous work, but familiar. The Vesium that's harvested from the Draciri, along with their meat, is readily sold around the world. In Listmere, a bonewright etches the silent script into a funerary helm, serving the Deathless Republic as an Osark, helping the departed pass with dignity, and making sure that the restless do not rise again. In the glass-wild expanses in Khaled Tyr, an intelligent predator slips between mirrored trees and jewel-toned vines. A jungle stalker, solitary, sharp eyes. The land shifts underfoot as the seasons dance wildly out of step. In Binan Suo, a scholar of subtle things watches the patterns. An archmage, a dreamer. A person who sees far too much. And in the crystal forges, where the gears were forged from aenite alloy made from the Vesium, is the mother of the gears. She who designed the bond between soul and suit. Not chosen, nor did she ever intend to be. But they know her, as they always have. The veil has thinned. With Emberwake, the field that protects Elthia has weakened, and the Draciri now are able to break free and through and attack at will across the planet from Elthia's sister exoplanet, Jasira. The Black Spire is active once more, an enormous tower in the northern hemisphere of Eltia that watches over the rest of the world. Talk of their experiments escaping, running rampant, have begun to spread. In the hollow deep, in the deepest part of Elthia and Jasira's oceans, the rift pulses like a second heartbeat, a rift that connects the two worlds. The Empress might be gone, but the consequences of her 600-year reign of terror remain. Scars across the world that still need to heal. This is not a story of heroes. At least not yet. No one here sought greatness. No one here dreamed of war. No one ever does. But they're still going to be called. This is the second age of Genesis. This is where we find out how each person awoke. Now, 15 years ago, when Emberwake swept the world, this triggered changes in the flow of mana from Genesis space. In Exalted Essence, Exalteds have essence. In Althea, we call it mana. And since we're not using any of the lore of Exalted, exaltation is an awakening. But they still had to choose to grasp that power when it presented itself to them. Siraj.
Yep.
Take me to Fahim when he first awoke. What led him to seize this potential?
Well, Fahim is a teacher, first and foremost. And in his time working for the Genesis Pavilion and the various organizations in Binansuo, he has taught numerous amount of students. And on one of these trips out further from what's normally safe or considered safe in Binansuo, he was leading just a small exploration. It should have been simple, should have been fine, but it was supposed to be a teaching moment to teach the students of the past and how they can use it to help the future. But there was something hidden in the ruins. There's something unseen by most. And Fahim, as with his namesake, did see and what he saw, he did not like. So he saw his students, each one, each face burned in his mind forevermore, as this entity beyond the veil, perhaps sparked, perhaps triggered by recent events, or not so recent, slowly killed one of each of his students during this trip, and the supporting staff that came alongside. And he was unable to act against it. But it seems Genesis had a different idea, as within his sight, something grew, within his mind, something expanded, and he now saw beyond the physical details of the world. There was something beneath, something he always had a hint at, just on the edge of his vision, but now it's revealed fully. And once seen, he was able to keep himself stable, to break and sunder the creature, return it back through the threshold once it came. But it was too late. All he has now is memories of those students and a new, awakened, unknown element within his own body, especially his eyes.
Fahim. Now, the Genesis Pavilion is an academy and a temple to higher learning, to magitech research, to training archmages and archknights. This is in the skybound tiers on the floating continent of Rinonsuo, which is a massive interconnected continent of floating islands and small land masses. Healing springs, advanced medicine. The society has existed in peace with itself for so long and had no enemies that they were able to advance unhindered for almost 1,000 years. The gentle nature of the halflings that originally founded the country also meant it's a very peace-loving country with a focus on academia, arts, medicine, and in general, making people's lives better. At the Genesis Pavilion, which is a massive open-air building with columns of wood that look like they were grown, green and blue crystals light the way and ward off the extremes of temperature. There are sprawling libraries made of grown organic computer systems. So many rooms for teaching. The training spaces for the Archknights and the Archmages are both here, but also kind of separate from one another. The Archknights being more like the jocks of the school, and the Archmages being more like the nerds. But it's cool to be a nerd in Binonsuo, as it is in real life. So today, after some time has passed, your students have been lost. That darkness is still with you. Describe Fahim for all of us and where he is in the school.
Okay. Fahim looks like a normal older human male. He often wears fashion of long jackets, long clothing, and typically has a overcoat around him full of colors and patterns that would remind people of starlight and space. Although he does seem to have a lot of eye motifs on a lot of his clothing, as he
Not
feels
creepy
that.
at all. Sorry, continue.
Oh, he feels that the eye is an important symbol, as observing things, finding what they are, and just seeing through deception and deceit is something he looks to do, but sometimes it might be too much. And you'll see often a spectacle on him that has been specifically calibrated for him to at least reduce his vision greatly, because without it, he cannot uh, behave normally. That there's just too much optical input. But sometimes he will take off his glasses to see better or see clearer. But for now, he'll survive with this pair of glasses that will let him at least see everything, mostly as most is. And at this moment, he should be in his office, likely following up on some research or just looking over some papers written by some students.
Everyone's doing well, for the most part. The Genesis Pavilion is the Juilliard or Harvard of schools, only taking in the best and brightest of mages from around the world. They very recently have opened their doors to mages from outside Binansuo. Only in the last 7 years or so, with the solidifying of the Council of Unity of Elthea. One of your students, also, forgive me, I did a boo-boo. Now I remember what I forgot. Briefly, gonna detract from this, we also use an AI note-taking tool called Archivist that should have been in the channel for everything that just happened, and I'm gonna regret it not being, but I will add it all via word later. In the Genesis Pavilion of Binansuo, we are with Fahim, who is looking over papers. Complex magical theorem of some kind. When a Owlkin woman, kind of tawny feathered hair, she has mostly elvish features that are kind of like a jumble of elf and owl put together. She's got the swept pointed ears, but her hair is a bunch of feathers. She has the large tawny colored wings, but her legs are more like bird legs with the taloned claws. She's also like 4 foot nothing, wearing the favored loose-fitting and comfortable clothing of Binan Suo at this point, but she is from the nation of Ariadon, a very recent, promising student. Her name is Toria, Tora. She was named after Althea's son, which is a delightful joke since owls are nocturnal. Her parents are comedians. She looks, well, ruffled in that way that birds ruffled, like her feathers are sticking up in multiple directions. Her eyes are those big, wide, expressive owl eyes, solid amber colored. She is a full 3 days late on her paper, and she looks very nervous to turn it into you.
Toria, I've been expecting you.
Oh, Professor Fahim, I am very sorry. I have my day.
Oh, most excellent. Just bring it over here.
She like collects her way over and offers it to you with like a small bow.
Now, I know you have worries, but it matters not when you turn it in, as long as you do so. But being timely is a good thing of it on its own as well. But I will look and see what you have written. I am most interested in seeing what you have found out and what you thought about.
Yes, Sensei. I struggled with analyzing some of the more complex arcane theorems, and I wanted to make sure that I provided accurate dissection of the problem. So I went to the capital and got access to the libraries there to find counterpoints to create a more rounded theory.
Those are good places to refer to. But have you thought about venturing further out? There is
Why?
knowledge out there beyond the libraries. Even a man in the streets might give some further insight. But
Her eyes like get even wider. A man in the streets, Sensei?
of course, what you see in the libraries are words written, of course, by many researchers, all of all kinds, from all throughout, and they research and think like you. But there is more to the words or digital data banks that we have in our great academy. But maybe this is something I will provide greater knowledge on for the greater class.
So she is from Ariadon, which for the most part is the place of country bumpkins in Althea. hundreds of miles of wilderness and forest and vast farmland. It doesn't really get much more rural than that on Althea. So the idea of discussing such advanced concepts with someone on the street baffles her. Her head does like a full 180. I I will, and then it spins back. I will speak to strangers.
If nothing else, you can certainly gain a new friend and perhaps a new perspective.
Her plumage sticks out even more at the concept of interacting with someone in a friendly manner instead of an academic one. Uh, yes, Sensei. She flies off through one of the many open windows of the Genesis Pavilion. She just full panics and flees. What's Fahim doing?
At least
As she
right.
takes off.
Yeah, Fahim will definitely add her essay to the piles that he probably already has.
Yeah.
But he'll make sure he'll note it for priority examination as he probably gets ready to head out of his office.
Fahim, you see things now. What does that look like for Fahim? What does the world look like for him? How does he see it?
So, at least when his glasses is not on him, uh, everything is as if they're projections of each other, and that is constantly expanding and open. They're not just colors, but they're lines, sometimes uh, chaotic lines, sometimes straight lines, sometimes not lines at all, spheres, cubes, geometries. The world kind of expands, and especially if he focuses on specific things, it is sometimes a jumbled mess, but some things are more clearer than others. Things with significance, with meaning. People themselves mostly uh, looks like themselves, but maybe there's potential. There are different faces to people that he doesn't recognize. There's kind of alternate, smaller, bigger, slightly different hair. He sees these things all at once. But if he can focus a bit, he could lock it down statically. But with his glasses on, he's able to mellow more of this out. People look, his vision is mostly stabilized. Sometimes they kind of bleed out of their edges, colors mix, not meant to be. But yeah, that's his vision most of the time.
Said sometimes it's chaotic. Is chaos, does that come when he has trouble like translating what he's seeing?
In part, yeah.
So while you're moving from your classroom through the Genesis Pavilion, there is a number of things happening, of course. There are students going about talking with one another, uh, making friends, discussing problems, subjects studying. You hear the clanging of practice. Not clanging, that's not right. The clacking of wooden weapons as the Arc Knights practice over in one of the open bladed pavilions. But the lines and the geometry that you see, your glasses give you a small window where you're kind of protected from that. Would you roll me an awareness, please?
Sure.
You can choose the attribute tied to it.
Guess I'll do fortitude for now. I don't think I'm forcing it at the moment. More passive, I guess. It looks like 4 successes.
That's it. Your glasses, again, protect you from most of this and from being overloaded, give your brain kind of a break as you see more things than any mortal mind was ever meant to see. Maybe it's in your periphery, like in a space where the glasses aren't quite covering everything. One of those lines of vibrant color darkens. Dims.
Bahim would definitely seek it out if he notices it.
Seek it out. How?
He would turn his gaze more towards the lines, as tracing them, if it's traceable.
Do you take off your glasses?
He does the kind of like very short, like tilt his head and then quickly flash up his glasses. He doesn't like prolong exposure, I guess. So it's just a quick
Yeah.
up and down.
Lines are everywhere, connecting to people. The one is dimming, connects to a student over there, poring over their work, eating a sandwich with one hand as they study. But then another line flickers, dims, reaching out to one of the Arc Knights, sweaty in the field, holding a wooden sword. One of the beautiful patterns of geometry around one of the bioengineered trees that help provide more stable oxygen and air this high up from the rest of the world. sputters. And from each of those lines, this black liquid starts to drip. The dodecahedron that makes up the bioengineered tree, from each one of the lines is dripping this dark black liquid, almost like oil. From the line to the student, from the line to the Arknight, everything in your vision is swimming in this oil.
Is going on?
Almost as quickly as it appears, it's gone.
Fahim will probably be rubbing his eyes as if trying to figure out if this was caused by being tired or something else. But it's likely he has fairly good memory, and that glimpse of the oily darkness on the lines kind of lingers in his mind.
Aloy returns to the book. You know what you saw, sort of. You commit it to your memory. You can never get quite comfortable that day, though. I would go so far as to say your hair never falls the same way, and your clothes never fit the same way. Kind of dealio. Everything just feels a little off.
He will probably head towards his workshop to try to realign himself, get back into stability.
Excellent. We're gonna pull away from Roshni now. We leave the space of Binan Sul. Fahim uncomfortable with what he's seen, unsure what it could possibly mean, but still having a stack of papers to grade for his students. We leave the floating islands of Binan Sul down above the Shard Sea and the maelstrom that swirls beneath it. We pass over the luminous drift of the opalescent archipelago into the volcanic ring of islands that makes up the country of Providence, ruled over by their free captains who are not pirates, but also are kind of pirates. Providence is one of the younger nations of the world, only having declared itself free from the Meridian hegemony 15 or so years before the Ember Wake event, so about 30 years ago now. But the enterprising people of the Break, as they call it, everyone else knows it as Stormbreak, a tower raising hundreds of stories, a massive city built one level above the others. There aren't a lot of resources on the island where Stormbreak was built, so they built up using magic and Aeonite to reinforce each level of the towers they built, including airship docks. And every time they add new levels to Stormbreak, they leave a throne. Now, on all 263 levels of this massive tower city, there sits a throne of a different make and quality. Stormbreak was around for a while before they declared their independence. And they used to have a king, who was, of course, beneath the Empress in power. But once Stormbreak actually achieved its independence and started building, they decided to leave that throne on each level as a reminder to everyone that you can rise from the bottom to the top. A true meritocracy. Stormbreak is a place where you make yourself. As long as you work, you're rewarded. You're paid. But you have to put in the effort. And now on one of the outer islands of Providence, we see a crew of people all working together to pry off the scales of a Draciri. A massive Upsidar Draciri. Huge black scales and gemstones of Vesium growing out of its hide. The membranes of its wing are almost glowing fire red. The cracks in between its scales are still burning with orange light from the heat inside of it. I realize I did not put any of these in Foundry, and that is a small problem. Yeah. But this colossal creature, easily 100 feet in length, that stood maybe 80 feet in height, is laying on the banks of this island. Being broken down for its bones, its Vesium, its meat. And we're gonna focus our attention on one specific individual right now. Demon, would you describe your character for me? Here is the Obsidar. Dressiri, by the way. What do we see and what is he doing?
Will happily describe my character. For those watching, the Obsidar is up on the screen. Meridius is a young man. At this point, around the age of 16, 17 years old. Does not look native to Providence in immediate appearance, but dictated by his clothing, you can very well tell that he's lived here for a while. Bunch of scruff on his face behind the gas mask that he's wearing as he's actively sawing apart a dragon. But he's wearing the same uniform as everyone around him, that of a cleaner. That is Fahim.
I also threw up Meridius.
Yes. Yeah, that's about it. Instead of the assault rifle, it's a plasma cutter
Yeah.
to help go through the go through the scales of the beast. But
the scales, yeah.
that is generally what he looks like.
So, tell me a bit more about your case. Your awakening to these special powers that you have is a little different. What was going on when you first got them?
At the time, Meridius and his crew was traveling, heading towards what was supposed to be one of these dead beasts. And as they arrived, everything appeared normal. Another cleaning, another payday. When, as he was cleaning towards the core of the beast, something latched onto his suit. Him being unaware, the suits are rather thick. They're meant to keep anything that's not supposed to be on your body off your body. He went through the day as normal and went home, only to awake with severe migraines and a unquenchable hunger.
So hungry.
So, thinking it was just because of a hard day's work, he went to the nearest cafe and proceeded to eat and eat and eat. And the migraine persisted until he had gone through enough food to wear out any of the resources he had available to pay for it. So he returned home. And several days later, on another mission to go clean up a separate beast, they awoke, but not in the same as visual prowess or magical abilities. When he got close to the beast and started carving into it, he transformed and began to devour it himself.
The meat of the Drosiri was delicious. It's packed full of iron, protein, hot, steaming blood, and raw Vesium. And that, for a time, settled your hunger. Does anyone know about this? Did anyone see you, catch you?
As far as he is aware, no. But the speed at which he cleaned got faster, and it has been noticed.
It did. And if a few Drosiri steaks go missing every now and then, bit of blood filled with the Vesium that gives the Drosiri their strength and might, no one's gonna notice if you skim a little off the top, right? Everyone does it.
Indeed.
So you are on this huge body of this Obsidar Drosiri, pulling away at the scales, cutting it with your plasma cutter. You feel that hunger bubbling in your stomach. It's been a little while since you had Vesium. There's another way to consume Vesium in Althea. If you can find it raw, you can consume it that way. There's also a drug called Blue Moon, made from raw Vesium, and a number of psychoactive additions. Blue Moon is well known to enhance powers, strengthen your connection to mana, let you pull more Genesis into your body. It's also well known to shorten your lifespan to only a couple of years, and thicken your blood to the point of turning it into a black, oily-like sludge. So it's not the healthiest of ways. You're getting hungry.
He would continue to skim off the top until the point where someone would point out it's noticeable before he would resort to the moon.
That's fair. That is just one of the available paths that I was mentioning. We're back now, though, on the Obsidian Drosiri and you and your hunger. You feel it clawing at the edges of your vision. wanting to be released.
Meridius would locate a position on the beast that would be harder for people to extricate the meat or the bones or any of the gems, and volunteer to go into that specific area to do it himself.
On the back between the wings is usually the hardest place to get through, the hardest materials to harvest. It's the strongest location on the Jussari. You do good work. You are given whatever position you ask to work. No one else can really keep up with you in your harvesting and your 5 physique.
He would.
But I assume. Go ahead and tell me what you're doing back there.
Chip a little, eat a little. Everyone here has cooked a big Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner. You pick at it as you make it. And that's exactly what he does. As he carves out chunks, he'll take a little off each.
Slice out big hunks of shoulder steak from this Jussari. And just skim a little off with your knife. And are you eating it right there?
He would look around his surroundings to ensure that nobody's actively watching, but yes.
Give me a force awareness roll.
Force awareness.
Two successes. You don't see anyone watching you. But now I assume you're also trying to be stealthy about it.
I am.
Give me a stealth finesse roll. Okay. You gobble it up right then and there.
He would throw some extra into his pack. For transport, of course, if anyone asked.
The hunger abates some. It's not nearly enough anymore. The amount that you've been able to skim isn't going to be enough for much longer. But no one seems to notice. You go about your work. Your craving abated for now. You've pocketed some extra. The work completes for the day. Where does Meridius go at the end of his day? What does home look like for him?
Though he doesn't stay in Providence too often, only to sleep and rest, he would have a nice little apartment-sized home to return to after work. Very much like a traveler, he's constantly out on boats, assisting with excavating material. So it's a pretty empty and barren apartment. The fridge maybe has a couple beers in it, or Althea's version of alcohol.
Althea definitely has all kinds of beer, mead.
Oh, thank God. I couldn't be in a world without
You're
it.
you're crazy if you don't think that like Ariadon has like a whole bunch of IPAs.
Perfect. So he'd have
Providence also has a bunch of IPAs.
a select few of IPAs imported from different areas inside of the inside of
Okay.
his fridge. But it's very simple. A couch, maybe a screen to view entertainment. But there's no paintings. The walls are bare. No rugs. It appears almost as if nobody lives there, because he's hardly there.
You make it to your depressing apartment.
It's not depressing.
I mean,
He enjoys being out on the water. He enjoys traveling. He enjoys the ship life. That is what he grew up with, and it just got
Does he-
enhanced with the series fall.
does he work on a oceanic vessel or a sky ship?
I would say it's probably a combination of both.
Okay, amphibious flying vessel.
Yes.
Also makes sense. They definitely have those as well.
Their preferred method of travel is by air, but it's much easier to load Draciri meat and bone and scale onto an aquatic ship after it's already filled.
Yeah.
And his father being a captain, he grew up out on the water. He grew up helping well before the Draciri were a common issue.
It's true. Up until a few years ago, the Draciri were Binon Suo's problem alone. But now the veil's weakening. The planetary defense grid that Binon Suo put into the atmosphere is weakening. Or it's not. It's hard to tell. Binon Suo has gone out and put statements saying that their defense grid is as strong as it has ever been. The problem is that when Emberwake happened, the Draciri also got stronger. And there's kind of a news program playing on the crystal screen. it's usually the same thing. The Unity Council has unified Althea. Everything's happy planet side. The major threat to the world now is from Jasira. Vesium supplies are still low. Finding actual sources of Vesium on Althea itself has proven difficult. Save for a couple of mines where it appears naturally that belong to two very different countries. But that's trade negotiations between countries. There's an advertisement on the news that Binansuo, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, since they gave up weapons, have decided to create weapons to combat Drusiri. Binansuo is very well known for its non-lethal weapons, its shield technology. They don't think they have a choice any longer. They can't safeguard the planet anymore. And so they are looking for volunteers to join their program. And it's a little propaganda-y, if I'm honest. Like, there's a doctor in the cerulean blue, like, lab coats that Binansuo favors, talking about compatibility with these genetically entangled armor systems and how they're looking for people to match with them. And it's all very complicated. Oftentimes, Binansuo scientists fail completely at dumbing down their science. Not because they're condescending or anything, they just don't think about it. So she's going on this long ramble about this complicated armor system. But all you really see is like a 3D program of an egg. And that egg sort of hatches with thousands and millions of aenite particles as this matter moves itself like liquid into different shapes that they say will adapt to a form appropriate to the pilot if they're compatible. And the whole commercial is very it's very sci-fi. It's the best way I can do it. But it's the New Horizons pilot program, is what they're calling it.
So I think the only instance in which Meridius would actually pay attention would be if there were rewards offered, whether that be Drusiri material or money.
Become the front line of defense against the Drusiri.
It would definitely pique his interest.
As your
he-
stomach gurgles.
He sees it as a free opportunity to eat
Yep.
and get paid while eating.
So you know that Binansuo doesn't deal in currency. They don't have it just at all. Their society is post-resource scarcity, and they don't deal with monetary values. Basically, if there's something that you want, it's provided for you. If that something is rare or hard to come by or dangerous, they ask you some questions, and if you get approved for dangerous material, they give it to you. But you have to prove that you're not going to do something bad with it. It's a very complicated system. Lots of checks and balances. But yeah, definitely lots of Draciri meat.
Yeah, Meridius would
And
submit
if
an
you-
application. So
Yeah, if you get some Vestium
Attempt it.
crystals off the Draciri, you can definitely sell those around the world. Horizon pays very well.
interest is piqued, he will submit an application, assuming online. Or their version of online.
Yeah, you just pull out your little data crystal, you find the New Horizons program, and submit your name. And as we leave Meridius sitting in his recliner chair,
Yeah, we'll go full.
I'm picturing him like chilling in a recliner chair, like sipping an IPA as he fills out this application.
I'm not gonna denounce the fact that I have a reclining chair in my bachelor pad.
I know you do. Yeah.
But yes, that is absolutely the image I foresee. Drinking a beer while filling out the application for potential buffet of Draciri meat.
Potential buffet. We move out of this hundreds of stories tall tower out of Meridius' apartment, passing by drift whales as they climb up out of the oceans, following mana currents up into the Starlit Brink and across to Jasira in their migratory patterns. Moving over to the wild country of Khalid-Tir and its glass wild expanses. Thousands of miles of wild infused chaos. Nature here is something else. And stalking through the glass wilds, through the reflected trees and vines in the colors of shades of gemstones. What do we see, Justin?
So, Pride Lord Cadus is a jungle stalker, 10 feet long with tail extended, 4 feet high, and all black, covered in a black armored exoskeleton and 4-inch claws that are always extended on each paw.
You have scented Ursipede. There is one very nearby.
Okay. In that case, I would like to summon my mate and some of my children.
Her name,
Pride Lady Imperious.
Pride Lady Imperious. Moves up to you, headbutting you briefly, rumbling loudly as you and your children assemble for the hunt.
Excellent. Which of you wishes to be the bait? Speaking to the children.
There's one dude who always wants to be the bait, and he is so hyperactive. He just immediately bounces into the air. He, like some of your children, hasn't fully grown into his voice yet. So a lot of your communication with some of your younger kittens is still very body language and chirps. But he displays his excitement and
Very,
brushes
very,
about it.
very well excited, kitten. You shall play bait. I shall play the distraction. Mate, you will come in for the kill. The rest of you children, you're on legs.
There's a number of excited chirps and growls, and of course, Pride Lady Imperius is always happy to make the killing blow.
Now remember, excited kitten, bring him straight to me.
Does that long stretch, claws into the ground, and takes off running into the bush. Doesn't disturb a leaf in the jungle. It's a very proud moment for you as he roams.
Excellent.
Now he's very good at being bait, getting attention. I'm not even going to make you roll an awareness for this, because maybe a minute or two later, you hear the roar of the Ursipede, the silver and platinum leaves of the metal tree grove that you're in vibrate with it. You hear the thundering of its 20 sets of legs galloping through the glass wild.
I crouch and prepare to strike.
Excited kitten appears from the bush, running directly past you to turn around. So they
And
can
as
really
he-
join on.
And as he does, I charge.
Charge out. All of your children begin moving in from the sides as this massive Ursine creature, this enormous blue and white bear with crystals growing out of its head and 20 enormous sets of legs, roars up on the back 10 of it as your children all hobble it from the side.
I will strike at its head. Diving onto it and basically sinking my claws in so that I have a grip and it can't see because all it can see is me because I'm wrapped around its head.
Fully distracting this Ursipede, a terrifying apex predator in its own right. Something that most people on Althea have zero interest in being anywhere near. As Pride Lady Imperius leaps up, her claws digging up the underside of it and sinking her fangs and claws into its throat. Your pride finds victory. Your pride finds food.
I will cut out its heart and give the heart to Excited Kitten.
Excited Kitten goes insane. It starts like bouncing around. He rolls over and like attacks the heart for a minute and then starts eating it. Just...
Well done, lad.
My love, the kittens will not be kittens much longer. Soon they will leave to start their own prides.
Of course they will.
I am proud.
They are good hunters. One and all.
They have learned well. Of course, this means we will have to have more kittens.
Of course, my lady. And I'll kind of snarl at her.
She, like, bumps you under the chin and dives into the ursipede. Not, like, into the ursipede, but into the meal. Like starts eating.
Cadus will also go for a leg.
There's plenty of legs to go around. Now, the Glass Wild Expanse, with all of its strange, wild terrains and features and beasts, it's the realm of Fae, the Wild Hunt. Somewhat different than others. Your food, your meal is not disturbed, nor is, of course, the nap that follows afterwards. But tell me about your lair. Do you lair in one spot? Are you a roving pride? Do you have like a set home?
We have a region that we patrol for prey, if you will. If we wish to sleep in safety, we sleep in the trees. But many of us are mighty enough that even if something does disturb us on the ground, we can at least drive it off, if not destroy it.
Oh, region.
We do tend to sleep near water. We do get thirsty after all.
The waters of the Glass Wild Expanse are probably the purest on Elthia outside of the deep oases of Natan. The water is always refreshing and oftentimes healing if you would go to its source. Something your pride long learned with your sapience. Using magic to heal wounds is a skill not many animals employ. Are the jungle stalkers? Are they... They're not... Are they like normal house cats, active at twilight and dawn sort of dealio? Are they more nocturnal, diurnal? I couldn't remember the name for Twilight one.
That's crepuscular, and
Muscular.
we're more we're kind of a mix between nocturnal and crepuscular.
Okay. It is deep in the night then. The stars are out. You see tendrillous trails of the purple nebula in the sky. Althea has a nebula that blocks out half the system, the solar system on one side, and it is visible to the naked eye at night. Along with Althea's sister planet and their 3 moons and the starlit brink system between the 5 planets. But you awaken to something else. Give me... I need a roll for this. I'm not sure what it is. We'll call it awareness. A finesse awareness roll. One success. There is a presence outside your glade or space where you've bunkered down for the night. Stark, gleaming lines of gold and red that outline the darkest of blacks that make up the shape of a woman, or possibly a woman, somewhat elven in appearance almost, with these bladed like wings that look like shards of sunlight at the edge of twilight cut into reality, carrying a scythe with her.
Do I recognize her scent, or is it foreign to me?
All that reside in the realms of Khalid-Tyr recognize her. She's the Sundering Queen, one of the monarchs of the Fae, Queen of the Courts of Summer. There's art.
I will approach, bow my head, and then roll over and expose my belly.
She reaches down ever so gently and runs a hand along your chin. It's warm and gentle. Pride Lord Cade. Cades. Sorry. She pronounced it right, I didn't. Cades.
Yes, my queen.
You have grown so much. Tell me why.
I do not know, my queen. Something has happened to both my mate and I. We know not how.
Show me. And I would invite you to share the memory with both me and the Sundering Queen of how you awoke to your power.
Okay. So, during the wild hunt, my mate and I were, approaching the primary target of the hunt, and we circled in and managed to get it from both sides, each of us sinking our teeth into it. And upon that sinking, our strength seemed to increase, and our durability seemed to increase. We felt less pain, and our jaws had more power. And whatever it is that we ate was excellent. We have not seen its like since. It was shaped like a two-leg. But no two-leg has ever been so delicious, nor granted power.
I see.
And most strangely, once we had supped of its flesh, both my mate and I could take its shape.
Show me.
Yep. Just take the lunar shape and into that being.
What's that being look like?
I honestly never thought of that. Sorry.
That's okay. You should think about it though. For next time.
Very
A
well.
vague shape for the moment.
Humanoid, similar in shape to the queen, but no elven ears. Flat ears, round ears,
Like a human.
short cropped hair, but in a flowing gown.
There. A breaking. A sundering is coming upon the world. And I fear Althea will not be able to survive it.
All of Althea?
The fall of the god empress of the hegemony, what the mortals are calling the Ember Wake, has alerted things from beyond this sphere. They are coming.
What are they? Predator? Prey? Something in between?
Yes. They are all these things. The monarchs cannot leave this place. We are bound to this land inextricably.
Could we not set the wild hunt upon this nemesis?
The wild hunt has its limits. And while the Fae are powerful, what you are now is more akin to me than it is them.
I am akin to the Queen.
Yes, I dare say before long you might overtake Embermane himself.
Cades will start purring.
By the way, here's the Embermane King, the King of Summer.
Nice.
Also a kitty.
Yes.
Don't tell him I said so. He is very prideful.
Aren't we all?
She smiles and scratches your chin again. Make your way to Kyrius, the great tree of the Elven nation. You will find your way from there.
Which way is the tree?
She smiles and points here.
Very well, my queen.
Solaris. Sorry, not Kyrius. I mispronounced my own word.
And I will begin stalking in that direction.
You head off to Solaris. It is not much of a journey for you. You are a powerful creature in your own right, swift and strong. And the first tree of Solaris grows out of a massive lake, slightly luminescent. The tree is half a mile wide at the base of its trunk, and it grows up into the air, branching out almost a mile in every direction. And the elven city of Solaris is built around the roots on the surface of the lake, and then up, wrapping around the trunk of the tree and into the boughs, ending in the emerald spire at the very top, the observatory for astronomy, astrology. It was once the place where the elves worshipped the gods before they started advancing in sciences. Ariadon, the nation of the elves, is still pretty rural and backwater, as opposed to Althea, which is very advanced in solar punk. A lot of Ariadon and Kalatir are still very medieval fantasy era with some advanced technology. But because the elves prefer their style, like they'll have like advanced glowing lights of like Magitech design, but they're still in lanterns hanging on like posts along their streets. So everything is improved, but still the theme remains kind of old-fashioned. The elves are very slow to change. But the city is also bustling with people, beastkins of all shapes and sizes, halflings, elves, half-elves, humans, several animals who don't seem to be owned by anyone. They seem to live and work here, and the beastkin are, of course, anthropomorphic beasts of all shapes and sizes. There's an otter dude, like, selling fruit in a market stall. But there is no place like this in the Glass Wilds. Even the courts of Avalon aren't like this. Like, the Sidhe have their fancy parties and whatnot, but this is maybe 1 million people in one location, all moving up and about this enormous tree. And there you are, standing at the edge of the lake. You can see people taking boats across or stepping into a circle on a dock and disappearing. What would you like to do?
I would like to dip my paw into the water.
The water is cool to the touch, refreshing. You see several small fish dart away deeper into the glowing water.
I would also like to sniff at the water.
It smells clean and delicious.
Then I shall quietly swim into the water and make my way to the tree's base.
You're just gonna predatory cat slink up onto the capital city.
Yes.
Alright, are you trying to stay out of sight?
Yes.
Alright, give me a finesse stealth roll.
Does the quietly diving in count as a stunt or no?
Yeah, I'll call that a stunt. It's 1 dice stunt. Or not one dice. Hold on. It is stuck, yes. Amazing. No one sees you. 7 success. Glorious.
Excellent. Upon arrival at the shore, I will make my way up to a rooftop and watch.
Give me a finesse awareness roll. Five success. From where you've perched, you can see a couple of half-elven children sitting in front of this crystal screen, watching the advertisement I described earlier for Meridius about the threat of the Draciri, Binong Suo's call for aid to the people of the world, looking for warriors and fighters to be on the front lines against this threat to the world.
Sounds a lot like what my queen spoke of, doesn't it?
It does very blatantly say a threat to all of Althea.
Look at the people who are watching this. Do any of them did any of them change their behavior in some way? How does one respond to a video ad? What is this?
So the children are one of them is sitting on the ground with their face in their hands like this, with their feet kicking behind them, just bored as fuck. The other seems to be playing with toys. They don't really seem to be reacting that much.
I would like to look up and down the streets. Is there some structure or building that might look official? You know, something like one of the Queen's castles?
Yes, the sticking up out of the top of the tree is a massive spire of what looks like glass or crystal of some kind. The color of emerald leaves. It looks grown, though, and organic, not carved like most of Solaris looks like it was grown, not built.
And I would like
Emerald Spire.
I would like to stealthily approach the Emerald Spire.
Excellent. We're just gonna let you keep that 7 success stealth roll. So Ugh. gates of the Emerald Spire are open, and you see scholars and what you're pretty sure are elven magi coming and going from the place. Some with armfuls of scrolls, some with crystal slates. You can definitely see who the older scholars are compared to the newer generation of scholars who are embracing the advancements in magic technology, and those who are sticking to the old ways. But none of them seem to notice you.
Are there any guards standing near the doors?
No. No one seems to be guarding this place at all.
I would like to jump down to the ground level, but far enough away from any two legs. I don't wish to startle anyone.
It was a perfect time for your cat to come through on the mic.
Yes, that was Lord Viper.
Oh my goodness. You leap down to the ground level. You don't disturb anyone per se, but there is a guy like sitting on a bench like 10 feet away with like a sandwich halfway to his mouth, kind of just staring at you. He's got like a shock of messy blonde hair. He's wearing a scholar's robes. And like he's got it's a cell phone basically, his little crystal data slate, but he looks like he's eating lunch and he's just staring right at you.
Enjoy your sandwich, two legs. I am not here for you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And I will walk into the Emerald Spire.
He just kind of
Casually.
like watches you. No one like moves up to interact with you immediately in the spire, but no one really seems scared of you either immediately. 'Cause the idea of a large predatory cat suddenly being in the heart of Solaris and in the Emerald Spire it just doesn't click. There's too many like nature druids and like no one's scared of you. No one acts like that anyways.
Is there some place where people are asking questions?
Like an information desk? Yes.
Yes.
Of which there's a very harried looking half elven woman with like a messy bun of hair and glasses, directing people to various locations in the Emerald Spire.
I would like to approach her.
Oh, hello.
I will get up on my hind legs and put my forepaws on the counter and say, "Hello. I seek a
good, you
means to respond to an advertisement."
Okay. Where's the advertisement from?
Dinan Suo.
Okay. This is an astronomy tower, but I could let you use my phone.
What is a phone?
Can you use a phone? She gets out one of those data slate or like crystal slates that other people are using. This is, and she like opens up this holographic like heads-up display. What was the advertisement for?
Dinan Suo is summoning warriors to fight against a great evil that threatens all of Althea.
The New Horizons program. Yeah, I saw that. And she like clicks through and it brings up the advertisement. These things are somewhat difficult to use, at least mine is, without thumbs, but they do have telepathic ones that you can acquire. Why don't they help you? I'll help you fill it out.
Yes, thank you.
And she asks you a bunch of questions. It's a lot of like, what's your name? What do you do? What's your list of skills?
My name is Pride Lord Cadus. I hunt and lead my cats. My skills are hunting, stalking, swimming, mating. I've had many litters.
Oh, congratulations. I don't think that's a relevant skill for this, though.
Forgive me. My queen sent me and said that there was a threat to the world, and so I came here and I saw this advertisement thing, and
Mhm.
it says it's a threat to the world. I do not understand the required skills.
Nope, totally fair. Everything else you listed was just fine, and I'm sure will actually be very helpful.
Also, I am carnivorous. I require my food to be meat.
We do have meat here. Regardless of what some people say, not elves are vegetarians.
Yes, but I do not intend to spend much time here. I need to go to Binan Suo.
We can probably arrange passage for you on a skyship or via a teleportation ring. Have you ever teleported before?
I have not. I also don't know what a skyship is.
Let's see. It's kind of like a bird, but really large, and people ride in it
And
through
cats
the air.
and cats don't strike them out of the sky.
No, 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 no. The cats would have to be very large to do that.
I am a very large cat.
Um, Over there. And you see this enormous, like, green metal plated ship with branches of trees growing out of it. Uh, Hundreds of feet long, several stories tall, just sort of floating in the air, like in the boughs of the tree, getting ready to dock.
That is larger than an ursipede.
A what?
Hmm, big monster. 20 pairs of legs. Hungry. Very tasty, though.
Oh, okay. That sounds horrifying. Um, Actually, that's a Suoan ship, actually. You might want to ask them for passage.
Excellent. You have been very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Good luck. And she sends off your application.
And I'm going to make my way to the ship. I want to do so by climbing whatever I need to climb to get there in the most direct path.
Sure. I mean, the first tree of Solaris is great for that. You make your way to the ship. Binan Suo, again, doesn't use money, so you are allowed passage on the ship to travel there, especially once they find out that you've put in an application to join the New Horizons program. And we're gonna pull away from you as Pride Lord Cadus gets on an airship for the first time to fly through the skies like no jungle stalker before him. We're gonna leave the verdant wilds of Ariadon and Kalatir and move up north. To blasted lands of ash and rock, fields of lava cracking through earth and stone. To a necropolis, tucked away in a small valley in gray mountains. Capital of Veithala, the country of Lismir. Now, Lismir and its peoples are a little different than some of the other undead you find in what was previously known as the country of Steingar. Many of the undead of Lismir like to decorate themselves, carving multicolored runes into their bones in their silent script that are their history. The history that they keep and protect. They decorate themselves with piercings of brightly colored metal. They worship sacred silence and fire. The necropolis is rarely ever still. Their joy and jubilation, though, tends to be quiet. They prefer to celebrate with color and sight rather than sound. Sound is precious, and words should be spoken when necessary. They have power and meaning. This is where we're going to meet someone else. Tell me a little bit about Raylan and where she resides. I was going to say lives, but lives is the wrong word.
Yeah, resides. Raylan resides within a monastery cathedral-like building where she spends her days going over ancient texts on the afterlife, whatever it may be, by whichever country people come from. She is from a long line of Osiarchs, the church within her nation. And she comes from a long line of actual liches. Living that openly seeks the undead or the unlife. And she helps others through this passage.
It's a very important work that you and the other Osarks do. The country of Lismere rose from ash and marrow. Its founders were the first wakened, the first undead who emerged from the process not with madness but clarity. Who remembered who they were and chose peace, which made them the immediate enemies of those who drink the blood of the living far to the south, in the Sanguine Halls, their vampire lords. For 600 years, they tried to destroy Lismere. But you have endured. With ritual and duty. What brought Raylan to the Quiet Flame? Why did she become an Osark?
The main thing that brought her to being an Ozark was family ties to it. There's always been at least one person of every generation that becomes one. But it's more of a calling than just seeking out an education. And she felt that call come forward.
Near Cathedral, performing your rites and your rituals, reflecting on your past as you perform rites to return this person's consciousness to the greater universe, or rise again in service of the Quiet Flame. It's always a choice given. It is taboo in Lismere to raise someone against their will. There's nothing inherently evil about being undead in Althea. No cosmic justice or imbalance. Would you describe Braylon as she's performing these rites?
She'd be dressed in her priestly garb as she's performing the rite. Lighting incense and candles. Reciting scripture that has been engraved upon her skeletal arms and hands. And also using ancient texts. That have funeral rites within them, but it's more than that. It's asking the spirits if they want to pass on or be awakened. And depending on what the spirit says, she will either anoint the body for burial or prepare it for an awakening ceremony, which has elaborate bone carvings and different sort of small metallic talismans that would be attached to the body.
Spirits and mana flow around you, through you, between you. Choice is given. The invitation is offered. Perhaps like it always does, or maybe this is different, but something makes you think about your own awakening. Different from others before you. There's talk about you being next in line to be High Osark, simply because of the power you now wield. Do you remember your own awakening? So why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Her own awakening was on a special day when the both suns were equally in height in the sky, and the Althean moons crossed their path, forming an eclipse. And it was at that point where she felt like she was both within the land of the living and the land of the dead at exactly the same time. And something from the land of the dead came forth and almost embraced her, but not in a fearing sort of evil factor, but of like a calm, almost soothing envelopment, almost like when a mother holds a newborn child.
A lot of people on Althea pictured the underworld as the shadow of the Genesis tree. The mythical tree that connects all worlds and dimensions and life together casts a shadow. From that shadow is where necromancy draws its power from. You stood in that shadow. You saw it. It's real. The Genesis tree growing with life and light and creation. And its shadow. Death. Darkness. Entropy. Not evil, not good, just a part of the cycle. That knowledge is how Lismir has joined the world stage. Sharing that knowledge is how You've gotten a seat at the table. A lot of the world is still scared of you. Undead didn't exist 600 years ago. Change takes time, and change only happens with being exposed to something. There was a last breath for the person on your altar. They inhaled and released it, and were still. But their vessel jerks and moves. It's always the hands that go first. Our hands are how we interact with the world. They sustain more damage than the rest of our bodies. So it's always the hands that lose the flesh and muscle first. Kind of necrosis rotting away and sloughing off the now useless flesh. Not much, just up to the first knuckles. The process has just begun for them. Their eyes open, burning with a deep green fire. You called, sister.
Yes, I did.
I will answer the cause.
That is much appreciated. The more
They-
that we have, the better it is for our kind to survive.
Kind of rub their head a little bit, realize that their fingertips are bone. Does not hurt.
No,
I thought it would.
being of our ilk need to feel pain, to feel hunger. Not necessary anymore.
I understand. The moment is punctuated by the sound of metal on stone echoing through the ritual chamber. Long ago, his flesh was gone, and the bone of his skull is covered in silent script and piercings of all the colors in the spectrum that you can see. His robes are mostly translucent. Modesty isn't a thing with those who have reached the full skeletal stage of their awakened status. The simple metal crown that he wears on his head is humble by comparison to his silent script and piercings. but the presence of High Osark Beltarin is unmistakable. With his metal-shod staff, with its glowing pale blue flame, entrapped in crystal in its top, walking towards you with these gossamer robes just sort of trailing with faint whispers across the stone as he does, but those faint whispers are interrupted by the clang of the staff on stone as he approaches.
As he approaches, I bow to him and I stay in that position until told otherwise.
He touches his skeletal hand to your head. Rise, daughter. I see we have a new one for the fold.
Yes, they have answered the call.
Welcome to the Osarks, brother. Or I should say kin. Gender identity doesn't really need to exist when most of your people are just skeletons.
Yeah. Oh, it still might. Yeah.
It still might, if they choose to.
Yeah.
Many of them just go by it. Raylan. Your gifts are needed.
And where are they needed?
There has been a call from the flying continent, Binan Suo. Your voice is convincing. Your demeanor calming. The council believes now is the time for us to move into the broader world.
I see.
There are many souls trapped that need freedom.
Understand. Be trapped is like torture.
Yes. There is more. The Conclave has been made aware of incursions. There are Draciri who wield power not unlike ours now. Binan Suo has asked for an expert in necromancy to assist them. You are the logical choice.
Then I guess I must prepare.
Do not despair. You go to a land more forward-thinking others.
I pray they are.
I understand the ship that you will be chartering upon, though, will be passing through the elven nation of Eridon. The elves and fae have long been the enemies of the dead. They waged brutal war with the mindless for many centuries. Be careful while you are there.
I will do my utmost to show them that we are not of the other ilk.
I expect no less of you. The ship will leave tomorrow. I will see to this new acolyte.
Then I will go get my things ready.
Be well, daughter.
Thank you, Lord.
Tell us a little bit about Raylan's home.
It is sort of recessed a little bit in the outskirts a bit. It looks like a little mausoleum itself. Very Gothic style architecture. And when she goes in, it's actually somewhat spacious. Lots of color everywhere on the inside. Though surprisingly no windows, considering what it sort of looks like on the outside. So she brings in the color inside with bright lamps and drawings and paintings and tapestries that tell a bit of the history of Althea itself. Really doesn't have a bed, it's more like one of those sort of lounging couches, because it doesn't really need to sleep.
Yeah, just sort of when you want to be in repose for a bit. Just
Yeah.
just need to relax for a little bit and not do anything.
Yeah, just let the mind be quiet for a bit.
Yeah. A fainting couch.
And also in there is a large wooden perch, and sitting upon it is her skelk vulture. And he looks at her, it's like, in a way, it's almost like saying, "You're home early."
For those of you that don't know, these vultures are undead, though they still retain many of their feathers. They have glowing, ember-like eyes. They're also pretty big. Probably like a 6-foot-ish wingspan from tip to tip.
At least for a vulture, yeah.
Yeah. You gather your thing. Gather yourself, your thoughts. And the next day, you catch a ship that has arrived after making a quick stop in Kerlev in New Steingarten to the south of you. The ship is massive and made with the greens and golds and aeonite of Binonsuo. Literal whole trees growing on this ship. It's very different from Lismir, which is a land of ash and fire. It stands out. You cannot miss it the next day.
Yes. Yes. As approaching the ship in awe, she looks at her vulture and is like, "Now, Ashclaw, behave yourself."
You board the ship. And the ship is where we will start convening our group of pilots next session. As you all board rides to Binonsuo. Raylan is the first aboard. Cades is the second. Meridius will be the third. And then we'll meet up with Fahim and Binons. But we are approaching the 3-hour mark, and while this has been absolutely lovely, we are going to be calling session here. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please join us next Sunday at the same time for episode 2. Have
It
a
was
good
a pleasure.
night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.